Hey folks, welcome to the Market Internal Review for August 7th, 2023. So some decent bull movement today, starting off the week. We hit a almost $2 gap up on SPY. The internals showed the advancement of New York Stock Exchange was sitting around 600 to 700 at the open. Volume was bullish as well, but just barely, basically starting out at zero. Tick started out with some nice extreme prints. The average closures on Tick were rising, and TRIN towards the morning session, about 5 minutes in, 10 minutes in, started to show an imbalance. So it's quite exciting to see this set up with the down moves that we've had into last week, where we made a new weekly low to end last week on Friday, right down here around 446 and change. Definitely could use a little bit of an upside move. I think basically to start out with the morning session, seeing that we were bullish, but mostly weak bullish, not an extreme buy per price or volume on New York Stock Exchange. Certainly wasn't looking for any kind of big breakout move or anything. And seeing that we had the extreme ticks on open, which can be typical, watching the VIX here, seeing that we're actually coming back down a little bit, but we're still over the 15 that we had rejected so many times in the past month. I'm watching to see if we can reclaim the Friday TiWAP price of 450. We started to show some weakness here, breaking down into that gap. So at this point, basically just seeing, are we going to fill the gap and continue down, or are we going to try to rise at least and test TiWAP itself? What we ended up seeing was a little bit of a strong bear move into the gap, but we held that upper 75% of this range. We did very well holding that. We did come really close to the 0.5 of 4475, 4477 here. We didn't quite make it down that far, and what I noticed was a little bit of a tick divergence. So I do like seeing these. These are something I don't rely on necessarily, but I do look for them. So we had a little bit of a tick divergence here between this, I guess this is more over here, between the last time we saw a bear tick and this first time we saw one, and then the last time we saw one. Then we rise quite sharply, quite rapidly, right up to the first standard deviation high. Still not making it to Friday's TiWAP price. By this point, I'm pretty much watching the ad. We're not really making any progress in any direction, and the volume's mostly flat. I think I tweeted it out a couple times, just not expecting a lot of movement. Even though TRIN is showing an imbalance, I'll show you in a little bit what it looks like. Another day where we're seeing a potential oversold or extreme bearish trend, and it's not manifesting in the price. We had that same thing on Friday before the JPM news, and given how we melted up last Friday and gave it all away to test the Thursday's TiWAP from August 3rd, I somewhat saw a similar setup here where we're melting up and the trend was very bearish, just like it was over here, immensely bearish. And when we didn't fill this gap, I was pretty much certain at that point that we would range most of the day. That I was leaning slightly more towards the upside once we reclaimed TiWAP. But looking at this overall, the bands were green most of the day. Volume struggled the most. We had another bear tick around 11:30, but our favorite times, the 12:30 and the 1:30, really didn't bring a whole lot of action. You can see the price delivery here is very choppy. A lot of time spent in that first deviation. And typical rule for me, if the first hour ish. Doesn't bring any kind of breakout type move that I'm going to mostly consider that the high and low of the day has probably been set up and we're just going to range bound. So reviewing what happened here towards the end of the day is we did hit Friday's TiWAP price, which was exciting. We had a test. I'll say these are close enough to being a test of TiWAP. We didn't break them, but we didn't really come back any lower. We finally did break out, broke a second standard deviation high, retraced back to near current session TiWAP, and just kind of did that the rest of the day. We did end on a high note, so overall SPY did have a green day, which is good. From the open price, we rose about $2, and from Friday's close, almost $4. So pretty nice overall for SPY. Actually, let's turn the tick levels on. I'll turn the gap zone off. So tick levels mostly showing a balance. Our thickest levels are right here in the center, right where we spent a ton of time. I mean, even by almost 2:30, we're still hitting these tick levels. Oh shoot, even by 3:30, we're still hitting these tick levels. So that's essentially a range bound day. Notice the wick down here did hit the first standard deviation low from Friday. So a lot of progress was made. We're still not out of Friday's ending first standard deviation, 452. So that could be another upside target depending on where we open tomorrow. So here's TRIN compared to last Friday and today. You can see mostly we started in the extreme bullish, potentially overbought, rocketed right over the bearish zone, and then extended well beyond, almost to 2. That's pretty much the same kind of setup we had Friday. So the rise of TRIN with the rise of SPY, at least for a moment, then finally TRIN flips and we start to head towards balance. We land on it right at the end of the day. So very bizarre. Simply has me concerned. The ad itself here, you can see, what did I say, 600 to 700, 650 is what we had to start off with, and we basically range bound. Nothing really exciting there. The Vold, same thing. We had a couple of moments where maybe we were flipping bearish, but then we bought it right back up, concentrating into advancement and declining, not really making much of a decision directionally speaking on volume. End of the day, we did break into the bullish area. I have noticed that there are a little bit of extended hours data on the Vold, and you can see right on here we have some immense volume hitting right after the close. So I'm going to be paying attention to futures tonight just to see if this manifests in some way. That was very fascinating to see that. I do not take this to mean anything as far as a potential swing setup. I didn't do any kind of swing other than what I already have on for my trades. So I'm still coming in mostly with no bias tomorrow. So the main thing that I watched during the intraday session was the monthly TiWAP on SPY. Watching that and seeing us bounce right on the first standard deviation for the month, seeing us bounce and oscillate around the weekly. We have a strong hold of weekly. We make a new high, but don't really do much exciting. The whole time I'm waiting to see us break the monthly TiWAP or at least reclaim. We didn't really do that. The monthly TiWAP is a 450, almost 451, and we held these previous week's target levels. And this right here, 448.72, is July's monthly TiWAP price. So we're holding that. We've reclaimed after we lost it Friday. Notice how many times we bounced it on Thursday. So very neat to see. Not quite a flat monthly TiWAP yet, but fingers crossed, at least for any upside move, we will start out near monthly TiWAP tomorrow. We will not have lost any progress. Going to take a look at Qs. I believe Qs actually reclaimed monthly TiWAP, but we'll have to wait for it to load here. Okay, I'm wrong. They did not reclaim monthly TiWAP yet. Yeah, and they broke the first standard deviation on the low end. A lot more volatile. IWM, I want to say, was having a similar day. Yeah, they gave up their gap and way more and then came all the way back. So they had kind of a volatile day as well. More flat towards the end of the day once they did a reclaim. That's quite a heroic move back up after such a dump. Well below monthly TiWAP though. The Dow had a much more positive day. I was watching it off and on. I've got a credit spread swing on the Dow and noticed it did very nice today. And yeah, look at that. Bounced right off the monthly TiWAP once they did a reclaim. They rejected it the first time, landed on weekly, came over, and just went right off of there and extended higher. Didn't quite break out of the first standard deviation high, but really promising movement. Very nice. So yeah, I mean, not much to say. Just another range-bound day. We mostly stayed within this lower standard deviation on the session from last Friday, and I would say mostly overall balanced tick, balanced volume, balanced ad. Don't have much more for you. I did publish an update to TiWAP. I tried to add alerts. I did set one up for myself today. You can go in on TradingView. You can go and select TiWAP, and then you've got all these different alerts. This might be overkill, but you can set up alerts for any time TiWAP is crossed. You can set up anytime the price exits the first standard deviation or the second or third. And it says 1, 2, and 3. I never really had covered this before. I recommend just 1, 2, 3 for your values here, but you can use any value you want, but it'll still read as 1, 2, or 3 on the alerts and the configuration pane. So give those a try. I still haven't actually received any alerts, even though price definitely broke out of the first standard deviation. So something may not be working right. I've written other indicators with alerts, so I'm not sure what's going on with this specific one. But yeah, stay tuned. I guess check the update out. It should match exactly what the videos show. I was testing a lot of new updates to it, given that TradingView shows, I don't know, erroneous or false internals data for tick. Tick does not run any other time other than regular trading hours, and for some reason TradingView shows tick data where there is no tick data. So that was messing up TiWAP. Anyways, that is all I have for today. Like I said, going into tomorrow with absolutely no bias other than just hoping that we have a little bit of upside to continue good progress on some of my swings. And I'm just going to keep watching the monthly and the weekly TiWAP as we obtain more data. So as always, thank you for watching and happy trading.